Her 20th husband just died, and the Black Widow is already rocking bold red lips.
I didn't do it.
Facing this sexy woman, the detective almost forgot that he was interrogating her. A few days ago, this spider detective gets a tip that a bunch of young grasshoppers are involved in something illegal. So he slips through a crack in the wall and sneaks inside. The moment he gets into the warehouse, he sees it for himself. The grasshoppers are stockpiling fireworks and turning them into weapons. And leading the whole operation is Red, a red grasshopper who has been in trouble more than once. The detective jumps out and tries to arrest him.
Red Locust, you are under arrest.
But in no time, he is surrounded by grasshoppers.
We've been expecting you. How's the leg?
Then something weird happens. Red actually puts his hands out and lets the detective arrest him. But the detective loses his footing and slips to the ground. Right next to him is a match. So he lights it and strikes this dramatic fighting pose. But Red does not fight back at all. He just calmly lets the detective slap the cuffs on him. And right at that moment, the match burns all the way down to his hand. The detective yells and throws it. Only problem is, this place is packed with fireworks. One gorgeous explosion later, the humans are outside, desperately trying to put out the fire. Meanwhile, the detective drags Red away, like the hero of the century.
Yes, I finally got Red Locust. Order has been restored. You're welcome.
And that is when Red shows a nasty little smile. The detective does not think much of it. He is already convinced this arrest is going to get him promoted. But was Red caught that easily? For a reason? Was this whole thing a setup? The next day, the second the detective walks into the station, the chief absolutely unloads on him. Because while he was busy catching Red, a bunch of officers got blown up. Some of them are so banged up, they can barely stand.
You nearly got everyone killed!
The chief is furious. He takes away the detective's badge, buys him a plane ticket, and basically tells him to get lost. But since Red is already behind bars, the detective decides he might as well take the trip. And in the bug world, human-made flying machines are a gold mine. Bugs have already taken over every corner of them and turned them into long-distance airlines. The detective heads to the first-class dining cabin for a meal, and that is where he runs into the Fly Captain. The waiter brings the captain a very special dish. To the Fly, it is a delicacy. To the detective, it is so disgusting, he almost throws up. The detective is halfway through his stink bug sushi when someone sends over an expensive bottle of red wine. It turns out it is from a famous scientist. The scientist has just married a stunning Black Widow and is on his way to his honeymoon. But then he got a threat letter made from cut-up newspaper clippings.
I believe my life is in danger.
Obviously.
Make your wisecracks. Arabella's got every eye in this ship on her, including you. She ain't my problem, right, sweetie? This is my problem.
Warning him that he would not survive the night. He wants to hire the detective to investigate, but the detective shuts him down immediately. The Black Widow is already on husband number 14, so if this guy ends up dead, is it really that hard to guess who did it? But the two of them are all over each other, and the conversation goes nowhere. The detective goes back to his room. Then suddenly, the co-pilot shows up, looking pale and shaken. He tells him there has been a murder on the airship. They rush down to the cargo hold, and there, hanging from a giant web, is the victim. The dead man is the scientist Spider. The detective immediately directed his suspicions toward his wife. Subsequently, he took her into custody. She hands him a silk ball, saying her husband gave it to her before he died. Then she suddenly grabs his arm and bites him. But she doesn't inject venom, just tells him to compare it with the bite on her husband's neck, to prove she didn't kill him.
I didn't kill my husband.
The detective has no choice but to revisit the crime scene. Out of nowhere, the dead scientist starts moving,
Impossible. He's dead.
scaring him half to death, but a closer look reveals it's just a group of worker ants carrying the body. He chases after them to get a closer look, but they're insanely fast. Way too fast for him to keep up, so he shoots out a web and lands on the corpse. Just as he's about to check the bite marks, he realizes the body's been hollowed out. Nothing left but an empty shell. He keeps following the ants and sees them all heading into the airship's cargo hold. The queen ant is there, directing everything.
I'm investigating a murder.
We knew that too.
And I need to know if this bite mark matches that one. No!
The bite marks were not the same.
So she didn't do it. Nice detective work, son. Whoa!
Find out what happened to my workers by the flight's end, or we come for you in numbers and eat you alive.
Turns out ants may be the lowest level workers, but their network is massive. They run food services on the plane and handle information flow, but now nearly half of them have suddenly gone missing. The Queen suspects it's connected to the scientist's murder. The bite analysis confirms it wasn't the Black Widow. The detective also learns the scientist was working with red locusts before he died. Things are getting more complicated. He goes to question a woman next door, but she says she was feeding her kids and heard nothing. Just when the case hits a dead end, a mantis suddenly appears.
Lady Virtue!
Security on the airship immediately fires webs at him, but the mantis lunges straight at the Black Widow, then sprays a corrosive liquid onto the ceiling and escapes with her. The assistant quickly carries the detective and gives chase, but things go sideways. They accidentally jump into the human cabin. At the last second, the detective fires a web and barely stabilizes mid-air. Meanwhile, the mantis is smashing into the glass while carrying the Black Widow. A boy spots them and tries to smack the mantis. The mantis has no choice but to keep dodging. At the same time, the co-pilot shows up with backup. Chaos breaks out. A woman sees the spider and starts screaming. A flight attendant quickly traps them all under a cup. The moment the cup lifts, they cling to the rim to avoid being crushed. They dodge a splash of coffee and escape back into the cracks. Only then does the mantis finally speak. Turns out he's not the killer either. He was hired as a bodyguard by the scientist. His mission was to protect the Black Widow the scientist loved. Just as the detective tries to question him further, a web snatches the mantis away. When he's thrown back, he's already drained into a hollow shell. Now the detective is certain the red locust must have escaped from prison, and the scientist's death is definitely tied to that bead. As he's about to open it, the co-pilot gets greedy. He figures the bead must be valuable, so he steals it and tries to kill them too. They fall off the airship, triggering a heart-stopping survival moment.
Oh, let go!
The detective traps the co-pilot with a web, but as he lets go, the web turns into a parachute and carries the co-pilot away.
What the?
At the critical moment, a swarm of ants forms a rope and pulls them back up. The bead is split in half, only to reveal it's empty inside.
All that for nothing.
After a long investigation, he finally gets a lead, so he gathers everyone in the main hall and starts laying out his theory.
And his killer is still among us in this very room.
Those cockroach footprints at the scene were way too big to belong to the roach couple. The fly captain was not missing a wing either, so he was out too. The bite marks did not match the Black Widow, and besides, only about 40% of Black Widows actually kill their husbands. But everyone overlooked one thing. There was not just one Black Widow on this airship. There was another one, that heavy-set woman standing right there, and those so-called babies of hers were just a cover. She was the one who killed the scientist spider. The truth is, the detective figured it out because of one small detail. When he saw the silk ball was empty, something clicked. He suddenly remembered seeing the heavy-set woman bump into the Black Widow earlier. That had to be the moment she swapped out the silk ball. And more importantly, the way the murder was carried out looked exactly like something Red the Grasshopper's crew would do. And right then, Red finally shows himself.
Bravo, Inspector Sun. Bravo. So I guess you got me. Again.
Turns out, this whole thing was part of his plan. The grasshopper population has been shrinking fast, so Red forced the scientist to develop a genetic drug for him. But halfway through, the scientist fell in love with the Black Widow. He did not want to keep helping a monster anymore. He wanted to throw the drug away and run off with her. But Red was never going to let that happen. He had the heavy-set woman swap the silk ball and drink the drug the scientist created. As for Red, he let himself get arrested on purpose, just so everyone would let their guard down. But the detectives still felt something was off. Those thousands of missing ants had still not been found. And then, right in front of everyone, the heavy-set woman starts changing. The scientist's drug has kicked in. Her body swells up in seconds, then explodes outward, and she mutates into a giant super grasshopper. At that moment, the missing ants finally reappear. Turns out, they had all been knocked unconscious ahead of time. All it took was one lick from her, and each one of them got wrapped into a silk ball.
Next.
From the blast, when he realizes almost every bug on board, no matter the species, gets instantly trapped the moment they touch the silk. And the Black Widow, determined to avenge her husband, is the first one to go after the mutated super grasshopper.
That's for what you did to my husband.
It's not my fault Bugsy grew a conscience. He had to pay for what he stole from me. Ugh!
Well, now it's your turn to pay.
Batu!
Red was sitting on top of the giant grasshopper, like he owned the world. Then he twitched his antenna and sent out a signal. Every bug trapped in that silk instantly transformed into the same kind of grasshopper, including the thousands of missing ants. That was when the detective finally arrived. But by then, Red's army was already taking off toward the mainland. The detective immediately called for the fly captain to help chase them down. Red's first stop.
Gorge, attack! Lick! Gorge, attack! Lick! Long live the swarm!
Was a prison. He corroded every lock and released all the criminals inside. The detective caught up soon after. He told the fly captain to distract Red. Then went straight after the swarm. The detective fired his web and launched himself onto the back of the giant grasshopper. This was it, the final showdown with Red. The giant grasshopper kept sending out signals through its antennae, controlling every single mutated grasshopper. It spun wildly through the air, trying to throw them off, but somehow the detective and his little assistant managed to hold on. Then in the middle of all the chaos, the detective saw his chance. He fired a web and pinned Red down, but Red was not done yet. He ordered the mutant grasshopper to send out another signal. And instantly, the entire swarm turned even more savage. Then Red ripped free from the web and with one hard kick sent the detective and his assistant flying.
Now, where were we?
Long live the swarm.
Yes!
Right before they hit the ocean, a seabird swooped in and caught them. Turns out, the detective had learned how to control seabirds too. He quickly changes the plan and goes right back after Red. He orders the bird to fly straight at him.
Surprise! You're under arrest.
The two of them are fighting on top of the mutant grasshopper. During the fight, the detective grabs a stick without even thinking, but it is not a stick at all. It is one of the mutant grasshopper's antennae. The second it comes off, the creature loses its sense of direction and starts flying wildly all over the sky.
Classic move.
Now Red is outmatched and has no weapon, so he grabs a stick too. Big mistake. It is the other antenna. Now the mutant grasshopper is completely out of control and dives straight toward the ocean. Then out of nowhere, a giant fish bursts out of the water and swallows Red and the mutant grasshopper whole. The detective gets thrown into the sea too, and with smaller fish circling nearby, things get dangerous fast. Right then, the assistant shows up, riding a seagull, and pulls the detective back out of the water. At last, Red the grasshopper is finally taken down after years of causing chaos. The bad news is, all the other mutant bugs have disappeared. But then the detective suddenly realizes something is off. He has been holding the wrong cane the whole time. This is not a cane at all. It is one of the super grasshopper's antennae. So he lifts it up and tries sending out a signal. And almost instantly, huge numbers of mutant grasshoppers start swarming back. The assistant quickly snaps the antenna in half, and in 1 second, every bug under control turns back into its original form. But Red is not dead. He slowly crawls onto shore, still thinking about revenge. But then, in the worst way possible, he steps on a stick. And just like that, Red gets exactly what he deserves. That is how the story ends.